Awesome. Well, I'm very excited for today's Power Up, everyone. It is on Flex Registration. This is something that I know when I was in the field just a few years ago that I was asking for it, and I'm so excited to see RecDesk having it, and I'm so excited that you guys are here to join us today to go through this. So, what is on today's agenda? You guys looking that you need registration by program date or discounts related to how many classes that they have signed up for? In this recording, we will go over how you can do all of that and more. On your team today that would be here for the presentation, you guys, my name is Megan. I am the head elf here in the Santa's workshop. I will be taking your guys' questions through the chat box, bringing them to Jen so that she can be able to answer them and be able to help you guys the best way you can of what your questions are through this. And today, our presenter is Jen, who is our famous Santa Defender, and we'll are very excited to be here with you guys. So again, thank you for joining us here for today's Power Up. And again, if you guys ever need any help, we are always here for you in our support center, where you can always receive step-by-step guides, or you can contact us via email or by phone number. And I am going to put our contact information within the chat box so that you guys also have that to be able to copy and paste if you don't have it already. And now, as we pass the 7 layers of the candy cane forest, we find Jen to tell you all about Flex Registration.
Thanks, Megan. All right, everyone. So I know some of you are long-term customer of ours, so please mind, we're going to go over some of the basics of building a program first, because this new Flex feature is going to pull in some of those core tabs. So right now, I'm here in my Programs tab, and I'm going to hit on Add New Program. Create my name. Now, none of this particular page is going to really change. However, I want to bring up some differences for your programs when you're building FlexReg type programs. So what you're going to need to keep in mind is drop-in support. Drop-in support for Flex Registration only allows for pre-registration. These are not intended to be drop-in type of programs. For the yes with no, that's still like your yoga where you're paying $5 each time you come versus something that you're wanting to have them pre-register for. Now, Flex registrations are going to be by date. That's why that pre-registration matters so much. And because of that, some of the information from this core screen is going to be incorporated. Now, I'm going to skip over some of these because this piece is not the important. It's down here under the enrollment minimum and the enrollment maximum. This enrollment maximum that I set here is going to be my default value in the future. So if I can only handle 8 students maximum for this particular program, I want to type that in here. Now, keep in mind, if you're using our age minimum or our age maximum piece here, and you are enforcing those dates, this piece is still going to function the way that you hope. So the enrollment maximum is just going to be a default later for the net maximum number of participants per date when they sign up. And again, you can still add custom form questions. So for those of you who use this for something like daycare or for your summer camps, or for something where you need to get some quick answers like what grade they're entering or who their primary school is. I know some of you ask those types of questions. You still can gather all that information. But building this schedule is going to be much more important because I'm building this schedule as a Flex registration. So for those of you who have something like a daycare, where every day you have from 8 to 5 p.m., the ability for parents to come and drop off their children. So if I set this up, and I'm going to set this up for now until the end of the month as my example. This is how I want my schedule to look, because this schedule is going to be how the registration works. I'm going to be able to register my participants, whether they can't come on this day or this day. So they're only going to sign up for the dates that they need. Now, for those of you who like this workflow, especially for something like your summer camps, because there will be fee discounts built in to the number of days that they select. If you're doing this as a summer camp, instead of putting all the dates of your summer camp here, please use the first day of the summer camp week. So if you have 8 weeks summer camp and they all start on Mondays, put the first Monday in here. That will allow the registration count to go by that date for the maximum number for the week. Now, fees are also something to take into consideration, because when you're using a flex registration versus a normal one, fee type 1 and fee type 2 are not going to be offered in the same way. Now, I still have my 1 booth, 2 booth, 3 booths from the last PowerUp, so I'm going to use this as an example, and we're going to pretend that booth is the number of dates selected. So if I want to do a discount, let's just say, and we're going to say instead of 1 booth, we're going to say that it's, 5 dates that they pick is $50. 2, 3. Now, if there is a discount, because when they move up to the next level, so if that's 1 day, if 2 day, instead of it being $100 is $90, this is where you're building that discounted structure. And I want to encourage that here. You have 12 fee types you can still enter. The restrictions for residency will still take into effect, as well as if you use effective date ranges or membership restrictions. I'm having some bad math moment right now, so we're just going to put the fee there. And there's a difference here as well. And I made a quick mistake, so please excuse me while I go to my admin and manage custom lists. For those of you who make mistakes like I do, if you get all the way to where you are and you don't have the name you need, either as a fee type or an add-on fee type, under admin, manage custom lists, if you are a director in the system or an assistant director in the system, you can click on these manage areas and create an add-on fee type. So I'm going to use the example of them needing to be a late day, because we're using a daycare example. So there's late pickup. Under my add-on fees, I want to add the late day as well as what the late day fee would be. Now, all I need to do from this moment when I'm building my fees is go into this Flex tab. And there's now configure as Flex Registration Program. Now, there's some pieces that I'd want to make sure I make clear. Registration for this is going to start as a director piece only. A lot of that is because this is such a new feature that for those of you who have been with us for years, we want you to be able to practice with this with your staff and make sure you all feel comfortable with this and that you have it built the way that you intend and that you'd like it to work for your community members. March is the date that we're planning to release the community registration side. So when your community members are going to be able to set dates. So the reason I'm bringing this up is for those of you who are awesome and you're proactive, or you just happen to live in New England like me and you kind of can't really do anything in January and February because of all the super fun snow and ice. You can get your summer camp built. And you can get your other registrations built that will need this, knowing that registration occurs after we're planning to release. So keep that in mind for this. The maximum number of days they can select or minimum days they can select. That's only going to matter when it reaches the community end. For you on the director end, as we do with everything else, we do allow you to make exceptions to those rules, so we don't enforce this piece. So I'm just bringing that up so that if you set this up here, and you go to play with it. If you sign up for 5 slots, that's okay, because you as a director, we want you to be able to do that. And now you see right here my enrollment maximum. Because I put an enrollment maximum on that info tab before I converted it, it pulled that default value. I'm making sure I clearly say it that way, because if you add that value after you configure, it is not going to pull that information in. You will have to manually enter it. So you may just want to clear it out and re-add it if you haven't played with it further. Because here, if you know on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, you can only take half the number of participants. Same thing for New Year's Eve. Now you can set a new maximum number of enrollees for that day. The same idea goes for those of you with summer camps. If 1 week you have less instructors, you know this ahead of time, you could preemptively allow for less registrants during that period. And please keep in mind, it can stay 0. So for those of you with groups that you never really hit a maximum number, you don't need that there either. Now, this is the most important piece, the base fee scheme per time slot. So for those of you who don't do a discount, it's $5 per day, regardless of how many days they sign up, but they can pick and choose what days they're signing up for. Leave this as per time slot. That would allow it to charge $50 per day. Now, if you have multiple fees listed, such as resident, non-resident, it basically allows them to choose between the resident and non-resident version of those per time slot fees. But progressive, this is the one that we know a lot of you have been asking for. This is the number of time slots. So if they sign up for 1, it's $50. If they sign up for 2, it's $90. If they sign up for 3, it's $140. Now, I know in my example, I have a lot more dates, so I would have needed to add in some more fees, but I know a lot of you tend to have that fee value where, the discount comes in at a certain point. So make sure you name your fees appropriately. And then select it all the fees based on the number of time slots they can choose. And then for the add-on fee scheme, this once or per time slot is something you want to take into account based on the type of add-on fee. If the late fee, or, for them to be able to have a late, be able to stay 2 extra hours, if it's per day, then change it to per time slot. If it's a one-time charge, just leave it as once, and it'll charge them once for that add-on fee. So if you do some type of daycare or camp where there's like a t-shirt as an add-on or a sweater or something like that, leave that as once so they only get charged once for it. And then hit save. You can still add flex forms to this program for the registration process. That process has not changed. You just hit edit, click the form, make sure you still want it to, whether you want it to be a new form each time or shared. Now remember, shared means if they've completed it before, they're not going to have to complete it again. It'll show that they've already completed it. Allowing partial means they can skip required fields. And internally use only, well, it's self-explanatory. I do want to bring up that this particular option means that only your staff on the director end sees that form. So for something like programs, that would be something where, like, if your instructors needed to complete a form or somebody who worked in your office needed to complete additional information that the members of the public aren't aware of. And make sure you add an instructor. If you add your instructors to the program, they're going to be able to see their rosters from the community site when they log in as the instructor. And when they take attendance there, it's only going to show the roster that is scheduled for that date. So I'm going to go ahead and add my instructor. Remember, we do have this option if you pay them. where you can do a compensation scheme of a percent or a per student charge. Now, I'm going to go over the roster after I put a couple of fake members in, but do we have any questions about the basic build for the new Flex feature before I move on?
Question. Yeah, so Jen, we don't have a question about that, but we do have one about the Flex forms.
Yes.
That is, if I choose a form as pre-registration, will they have to fill out per day they select, or just one for this collective registration?
It's just one form for the collective registration. We don't treat it like the idea of it being like an individual reservation per date where it would have a form per date. The registration is just for the program itself.
I do have another one to follow up about fees.
Yep.
If you're willing. All right. How about a camp fee for one discounted week? The 4th of July holiday week would have a lower fee.
When you build your fee structure, this was part of the reason I suggested when you build this, to make sure you name it in a way that helps you understand. If you're using Progressive, you could still leave this name as individual. But let's just say, and use my fees as the example. First week of camp was $50. If they sign up for 2 weeks of camp, we charge $90. Unfortunately, you can't assign the fee per week for the 4th of July. You have to incorporate that discount in when you're building the fee structures, and you're assigning it to how many time slots they sign up for. I do have good news for everyone, by the way. This year, it looks like the 4th of July doesn't interfere with the week. I'm not sure if all places are deciding to take a Monday or something like that, but I think it doesn't interfere with summer camp. I think it falls on like a Saturday or something.
I haven't even looked that far in advance yet to even see when it falls.
I only know because somebody brought it up.
It's on a Tuesday.
Oh, it is on a Tuesday this year?
Everyone, yeah. But I do have one more. As we're on fees, Lauren asked us, would this discount for multiple classes camp only work for one registered person, or would it discount for multiple children in a household? Example, 2 kids both sign up for one camp. Would it show the discount, or does it have to be the same child for 2 camps?
It does need to be the same child, because we unfortunately, this release does not have multiple household members registering for the same program receiving a discount. We still hope to be able to do that in the future, and hope that with this type of feature, we can incorporate that much easier as a future enhancement. But right now, it's still only going to be per participant. So when you're building that fees, if you do have multi-child discounts, make sure you're building your fees to include the multi-child discounted fees.
Thank you so much for answering that. That is all we have as of right now.
Awesome. All right, so I want to have a couple of registrations in just because of the fact that it's going to help us. Oops, did a fake person. RecDesk. All right. So now when I register someone, I'm going to be able to select the dates. And I did not pay attention, but as you can see, I picked a random number of dates here. And now I'm only seeing the fee that was assigned to that number of time slots. That's how that progressive nature works. And if I choose the late day for the add-on fee, because I made that add-on fee scheme of once, it's only going to charge me one time for that $15. And then there's some other cool little things that have been added in. So I'm going to go through the checkout process. I am going to skip completing the form just for the time. And I want to show you something really cool. And we added this so that it would make it easier for your public. The invoice is now going to show the dates they selected. And that includes on that email that they receive. So that this way they have an email confirmation for the dates that they selected for that program. This is part one to that cool piece of it. When I go into the roster, we did add a filter per date. So if I happen to choose a date that I did not sign up for, see how now my roster looks blank. And if I choose a date that that person is signed up for, I will see them listed there. That filter is necessary because when you do that filter, you will be able to do those polls that you guys like to poll if you do the printed sheets for your printed rosters. You do need to do those filters first before you poll.
Hey, Jen, I do have a question because as you just signed up someone,
Yes.
Can a registrant add additional dates after they check out?
Because right now, this is something that only you as a director have access to. We haven't released the community end piece. You can, absolutely. So if I click view edit and I edit the registration and the person's reached out to me and they need to add a couple more, the only piece that'll change is I just need to reselect that fee, because if it does change the cost, like it increases. Oh, actually, I will do a technicality to this. Because we're saying adding dates and not removing dates, this is something safe to do because the fee is likely to increase. If they are decreasing the number of days and they've prepaid, please know you do need to refund them first. Otherwise, the system's going to get here and it's going to yell at you because you can't technically decrease here without refunding them first. So please make sure if you're decreasing the days and it changes it to a lower value, that you refund before you change those dates here. But adding dates shouldn't be an issue since it should add more fees to that invoice. They'll just have to pay that invoice, the value difference later. I hope that clarifies that.
It did for me. Nicole, just let us know if that did not clarify what you were asking in the chat, and we can get some more explanation for you.
Oh, you know what? I scrolled up and I saw that there's a question right before that from Chrissy. Looks like she's asking if the same person can register for the program more than once. In my database, I can, and I'm going to clarify that. What I mean by database, my training site that I'm on right now that I'm using as my display, I have the ability to do that. I can register the same person multiple times. You can as well on the director end. On the community end, though, please check with your customer success manager, or if you don't know who that is, email us at support@recdesk.com. And we can see if you have that setting turned on, because some of you don't allow multiple registrations for your programs. So we do have a setting in place, but it's one of those back end settings. So if you do want to allow them to do that and you're not sure if you have that piece turned on, please let us know and we can take care of that.
And Jen, I have another question for you.
Of course.
Chris has asked, instead of dates, can you do weeks for summer camp?
I knew Chris was going to ask this question. So Chris, when you set up, and I'm just going to do this as fast as I can. When you get here for setting up your summer camps, the safest way to do it is to have it be on the first week of the camps. So you've got camp, because everyone is correct. 4th of July is a Tuesday, which is kind of a bummer. But that means that you're going to have all those Mondays. I always forget when camp starts for everybody. So I'm just going to say June 26th as the start date, just because it's roughly around there for most of you. I know some of our southern states, it's a little bit earlier. And I know most of you have 7 weeks. So we're just going to go by this example of the average when it starts, 7 occurrences and every Monday. Choose your location. This will let them sign up by the week and have that progressive discount that you're looking for. It's just not going to put like the Monday through Friday dates for camp in here for them. But that's not a big deal. It's more a big deal to get them here and make sure that you allow that progressive rates. Parents know if they signed up for that week, they go for that week. So that would be how I would set that up. Because then that fee value can be built out. Now I am going to do a quick build them a little bit opposite than I should, because there's one thing about camp that Megan, I know that you've asked me about, and I forget what it was.
Yep. It was.
What was it? Was it because you guys go away?
So when we did trips, and sometimes families had to pay an additional fee as an add-on.
So we know that you guys also probably have some type of similar structure going on. If you have especially for summer camps, the only thing that when I know me and you have discussed it that I will bring up is in the add-on fees, unless your trips are like the same cost every week, like you manage to make it so that if you do one trip every week of camp and it's $25 for those weeks. If that's not the case, it might be smart to add the fee name for what that particular trip is. I'm going to use some examples of silly things that I remember doing. You know, if they do things like a trip to the horse farm or a trip to the Mall of America or like a zoo trip, you know, you guys all have different stuff. Add those names here. And I only say that because we all know that the parents, when it goes to sign up, if you just labeled it as trip 1, trip 2, trip 3, that someone's going to go, well, then I had to hit the back button to figure out what trip it was, if my child would want to go on this trip. So make it easy. Just simplify those names, especially if you do them year after year. Leave them here as your add-on fee type. That way, when you build them in, if the horse trip is $75, and I know my fees are all over the place, we're just having fun with this today. So if this is how much each of those trips cost, at least you're able to show those trips. And you can show what those cost values would be. This way, when they register and they select which add-on fee, that add-on fee, if you have it as a per date, so we can go ahead. And I'm going to make this per time slot. I'm not going to make this progressive because I didn't create enough fees for this one. I just wanted to be a little bit quicker. Sorry, Chris. they're going to be able to select those and select those trips. Oh, I'm sorry. They should have been selected as once. So that way, if they go on the horse trip, if they go to Mall of America, it would be a once charge. And I set that up incorrectly. So let me fix that. Wrong tab. Sorry, everybody. So those fees should be once. Does that make sense, especially for those of you who do those trips?
It does. It does for me, especially labeling it those add-ons to be specific to what we're doing.
Awesome.
But now, a question about fees. Can you have the same fee for each date? And when they choose the dates, does it add up all the days and calculate the fee based on that?
Yes. So this particular program I did not set up as progressive. See how I set it as base fee as per time slot? So if I sign up for this particular example, we'll sign up adult 2. And I select, it's going to be 5 dates times 5. And you'll see even here, it does it a little bit different on the invoice when you do it as a per versus progressive. See how it even gives them a quantity and then their unit price. So it's going to visually appear different on those invoices for them as well. They still see those dates. They still get that rate math going on down here, as well as right here on the invoice. So the system will do those per date calculations for you. And now I know some of you do charges after the fact because you like to have parents check in. Please note, if you want to use this piece as the actual charging piece, and after they come in, just check off the days for the view edit piece of their registration, that would be something that you absolutely can do here as well. But if you do it the other way around, your instructors can start taking attendance instead using the community site attendance feature, and they'll be able to just take attendance for who's supposed to be there for that day. And before, I don't want to show everybody the community side until everyone's questions are getting a little bit cleaned up, so that I can show you what is already available on the community site, what they're going to see, and what your instructors are going to be able to see.
We do have a few questions about the community side, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Awesome. Do you
All right, I have a few questions.
I was going to ask, do you want to list them?
I can. So we have one from Lauren that says, will this feature be open to the online signups by the upcoming summer? Otherwise, yes, I would have to refund everyone who signed up online, correct?
Correct. Correct. You wouldn't be able to transfer that. You can, well, I mean, if you do like a per week registration and you transfer them into a FlexReg, that does work, but you cannot transfer people out of the FlexReg program. So this is due to be on the community site by March. So as long as your registration period for summer camp isn't until like later in March or April, you should be perfectly fine. If you have a even later camp registration period, then you don't even have to worry about it. It's going to be on the community site by then.
All right.
I don't know if Chris made the joke, but we'll be the one to break it first.
Christina had a question, but once it's open for the community side, will they be able to register more than once?
Christina, you're going to need to let us know what organization you're with, because that's a back-end setting. So that's one of those, I can't answer that, because some of our customers have told us they don't want members to sign up multiple times for programs. So there's a setting that we have, that we may have turned off that ability for them to sign up twice. If you want them to have that ability, we need to change that setting. So we just need to know your organization so we can tell you how your site is even set up. I wouldn't know that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
And then the next one is, does the schedule for registrants appear on the family individual calendar on the portal?
Oh, whoever typed that question, you are killing the surprise. It absolutely does. And if we're getting to a lot of those questions, I'm going to go ahead and log in real fast. Hang. You type too fast and your fingers move too fast. There we go. All right, so now I'm logged in as my household member. I'm going to show you the community calendar first, just because it's going to be visible on the community calendar only for the days they selected. And it's going to tell you which person selected those dates. So you see all my adult ones. I don't remember what I registered the other person for when I did that program. Oh, I think that's all the way out in June.
The last week of June.
Mm-hmm. I selected a bunch of days, so I have to scroll all the way out there. I'm sorry, everyone. We'll just stick to today. See how that first registration, it skips a bunch of days because I didn't sign up for those. So my calendar, my household calendar, and my individual calendar are only going to show the dates that I selected. So that's going to make it much easier for them when they go, oh, I forgot what days I signed up for. They can see it on their calendar. And again, if they go to their view invoices, if they go and take a look back at their invoice from that registration, those dates are going to show up until it hits about, I think, the 10 date mark, and then it has a plus symbol. So that's when the calendar comes in handy for anything that's more than 10. But they have that ability to see that from here. Now, since the community site is the only other piece that I should make sure that everyone is aware of for flex programs, for these FlexReg programs, we did remove the openings and remainings just because that overall status doesn't need to show until your entire program is full. When we do that release for the community to sign up, it's going to look a little bit different, but I just want you to know right now, it's not going to say anything until it's full. And it's not going to have the register button, but we wanted you to still be able to list information so that your public could still see what the program is about, what the fees are going to look like, what the schedule for it looks like. So your information is still visible to them. I just realized I was paused, so I'm sorry about that. Right here, it's going to show NA for openings and remainings and no register button.
Awesome.
Now I am also going to just give me one moment. I'm going to log in real fast as my instructor. So my instructor is going to be able to go into the programs, and the today's attendance is only going to show the person on the dates they selected as well. So for those of you who use this, especially because you hire staff that like using their mobile phone instead, if they use this particular workflow, they're only going to be able to take attendance if the person signed up for that date. Do we have any other questions?
Oh, we sure do, Miss Jen. On the director's side, can you make an add-on link directly to a specific week of camp? I guess this might be for the community portal side. I guess when they want to make maybe a redirect or something is kind of how I'm reading this.
I think I may need more clarification for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's
explain that piece as well. Typically for programs, registration that you can send direct links to, you're talking about the program itself because it creates its own unique URL. Unless each program is by date, I'm not sure what you would be looking for.
Yeah. Lauren, if you are able just to type into the chat box a little bit more of a clarification, we can get that over to Jen and we can get that answered for you, hopefully before the end of today's session. So if you don't mind doing that, that'd be great. I do have another question. Robin has one about fees. If a few of those dates have a higher fee because it is a half day of school, for example, can those specific dates be a different fee?
At this time, I don't believe so. I will definitely bring that up to the team to see if that's something that would be possible. I promise. But I do recommend that until I tell you otherwise, and until I have a different answer for you, make sure you add an add-on for yourself for half-day fees so that they know that, so that you can allow them to select that. If, half day, and you can even name it for the date that it's happening. That way you even have a different type of list, especially if, one day is a true half day, the other day is the teacher's conference type of day where it's really, they're in school for 2 hours. It's way more than a half a day. Or something along those lines. I would stick with add-on fees until I can get you a different answer, but I will make sure I speak with our team about that.
Miss Lauren has written us back with more clarification. We have a morning sports camp that goes for 8 weeks. Each week is a different add-on field trip. If I only registered for weeks 1 and 3, would the add-on field trips only show for those weeks I want to register for?
Okay. That makes sense. So when we use the example of the way that I named the add-on fees here, I just left them a little bit generic. But for your situation, I would definitely name it like WK1 horse trip, WK2 mall trip of America. That way they correlate, because right now the add-ons are still for the whole program, not for individual dates within the program. But that is super cool.
Awesome. Now, Mr. Chris has a question that's not related to camp for FlexReg. Can we use this type of flex for membership for the swim club guest pass?
You know what? You asked this question and it sounds strange, but I'm actually going to clarify for everybody because I know his particular situation. They have certain memberships for people who are guests to come because they do have a maximum number of people that can come because it's a pool. So there's limited number. So they hit, fire limits, things like that, or maximum number of people because of how many lanes they have. Things like that do happen for him. And the answer is, Chris, absolutely. You can totally connect to the two. When you add in your fees, please, please, please remember when you're building them to hit that show advanced options and check off which memberships are connected, because I think you name yours. I think those are, I don't remember if those are your Punch Pass ones or your or your guest pass ones, how they're labeled, but make sure you restrict that fee so that way it's those membership members that can sign up for it.
And Chris, always feel free if you need a little bit more explanation on that the guest passes and that stuff, feel free to reach out to support or myself, and we can help guide you along that journey of being able to set those up correctly. Lori has a question. When you're registering on the public side and a week is full, will it show that the week is full?
Lori, right now it is not available for the public to register. This is for you to start in Director. March is when we're releasing it for public on the community end to register. That is definitely something that we want them to be able to see, though, is that they can see what dates are already full. I'm not sure how that's going to look yet, though. I know that that's going to happen. I just don't have a preview yet. But it will not, it won't let them register for weeks that are full as well. Pretty sure it'll just remove the checkbox from that date for when it gets removed to the community side. But because I don't know how it's going to look, I don't want to say that and be wrong.
Oh, absolutely. I get it. But you guys, those are some great questions. Jen,
Yeah.
We're caught up for now.
Awesome. Well, we're pretty much at the end of the hour anyways. So thank you all so much for joining us. We will keep this meeting room open so that if anyone still has any questions about this, that they can go ahead and ask those questions. And remember that you can reach out to us at support@recdesk.com or call our main number or reach out to your customer success manager if you want to go over this a little bit further, or if you have a particular workflow that you're not sure would work and you just want to be able to talk to somebody. Please keep in mind too that a video for this will be released on our YouTube channel, either by the end of today or by tomorrow morning, and you'll be able to find it in our resource center as well under PowerUps. And for those of you who haven't checked this area out in a while, please do. We added so many fun things. We added some quicker front desk training. So when you have that overturn, if you're feeling overwhelmed in training them, have them use our tutorials. Now we do have front end user and builder. The builder does ask you to go through some steps just so we can make sure that you, that person should be going through the builder training steps. But we do have our helpful workflows that are here as well, that are short training videos, as well as other information. But
and just one last question, Jen, and I know that what the answer may be. Will there be an announcement when it is ready for the community sign up?
Absolutely. You're actually going to see an announcement for this PowerUp happen twice more due to the fact that this release is happening right around the holiday time period. And we understand that for the rec world, this can be a very busy time period for some of you, especially those of you who are doing end of year finances. So we are going to do 2 more trainings on the director end of this, so that by that third one in March, that next PowerUp that I have in March that will be different is going to be the community end and how it's going to be for the community members. So this is already available for you on the director end, but it will be available on the community end shortly. Now, for those of you who may want to start using this in-house, please feel free to create a program that has a flex form where they can say the dates or choose dates or something like that. So you can actually start inputting information if you have. If not, I highly recommend that you and your staff just create programs and play around using each other's profiles and things like that so that you guys feel comfortable with it and how the registration looks, how it feels to remove, all the things that will be different about flex programs versus your regular programs.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jen, for your time today and doing this awesome PowerUp video for us and taking us through the steps.
I actually just realized that somebody sent me a question that was a direct message. So I apologize. I kind of avoid the chat box as much as I can so that I can see as much of my screen as possible. But somebody just wrote to me a message asking about saying they have a basketball league that they want people to only sign up for one session. Absolutely. Those basketball league sessions, this would be the perfect idea for that. And you could limit them to one session, and in-house is when you would do the override for those coach kids. I think we went over that earlier, but the question just kind of popped up because I noticed I had one of those private messages. So I'm terribly sorry for missing that question. I hope that person's still here. Sorry, Megan.
Oh, you're absolutely okay. But again, just thanks for the time and taking us through the steps of how to do this. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And if you guys have any questions as you're building or playing with it to kind of understand the feel of Flex registration, and you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your customer success manager, to our support team, and we can helpfully guide you guys through this process and be able to help set this up with you guys and take that time. Again, just like Jen mentioned, this video will be posted within the next day or so in those locations that she mentioned. But thank you everyone for coming today.
Yes, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.